ES Audio. From the Evening Standard in London, I'm Rachel Abbott and this is The Leader. Today we're giving you some bonus content taken from our business show, How to Be a CEO. It's an opportunity to hear from the most powerful people behind some of the world's biggest brands. This is actually a cut down version of the full episode. To hear the full thing, you'll need to hit the link in the show notes. Find a new episode of How to Be a CEO every Monday morning, and why not give it a rate, review and follow whilst you're there. Now, let's begin.
To some, the barbershop's the one place where you can sit down, relax, and just talk.
Every barber is a counsellor. Every barber is a counsellor. What I will say though is not every barber is a good one.
SliderCuts, sometimes known as Mark Maciver, is a pretty good counsellor and a very good barber. He's cut for people like Anthony Joshua, LeBron James. Reggie Yates had just left when we arrived at his shop in Hackney. He's a man who understands hair and also how to run a business.
Like, I haven't got these big goals and plans for life, but my drive can't help me going that way. So whatever I do, I just have to push to the limit.
He's taken his brand from a room in his mum's house where he cut his cousin's hair to global recognition, overcoming one or two obstacles on the way, sometimes just with determination.
The rat was massive. It was the day of the launch, and the day before we had painted the floor, and we saw the rat prints on the floor because it was wet paint.
I'm David Morrison from the Evening Standard, and we're meeting Mark at his now iconic barbershop on Hackney Road. And I want to know what it took for a young man with no cash or connections to even get a start.
I had basically maxed out my credit when I opened up this shop because, say, a few months beforehand, like getting the lease for the shop or establishing, what the lease is going to cost and so on, I just bought my family home. My whole thing at the time was, I'm going into business. I said, I know it's going to work, but at the same time, I still got to be sensible because I've got a child, I'm married, we're going to have more children. So I was like, I want to make sure that no matter what happens in the business, my home life is set. Yeah. So we have a space that we're comfortable in the location we want to be in. It's got enough rooms and all those things there. After I did that and making sure I did that first, it was like, okay, cool, I can go all out on business because that's already sorted out. Yeah. No matter what happens, even if this fails, we got my home. So because of that, I was already like stretched. So the mainstream banks wouldn't give me any money at that time then. So I had to be very resourceful, and I had to borrow money off people. I had to get back-end loans. And what I mean by back-end loans, I'm talking about going online and being cheap loans, just looking at all the companies' loans. It's like, okay, cool, you're willing to borrow me £10,000? Okay, but I have to pay you back, £20,000? I'm like, okay, but what else can I do? Because no one else is giving me money, and I believe in this business. I believe, because what happened as well was this business that I opened up, it took me 2 years to find a location. So I spent 2 years finding the right location because I knew that the location was going to be so important. I always knew that anywhere I went, I could be booked up as a barber. But I wasn't trying to find a space for me as a barber. I was setting up a business to facilitate other people. So even when people were saying to me, what does it matter? Like, people will follow you. I'm like, you're thinking small. What about everybody else? It was important to find a good location, a location that, that you could grow into. In here, we've got 10 chairs in here right now. We've got another one being built in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be an 11th chair. We've got a space at the back which holds probably another 5 or 6 chairs. We've got, basement downstairs for stuff. And it's kind of we've got a big space that we can grow into. So yeah, it costs money to fit out. When I came to this place, this was rat infested. And when I rat infested, I don't say that as kind of just a statement, a throwaway statement. I mean, no, literally I came in here and I saw a rat run past, jump out of that wall there and run past. And I'm like,
how big was this rat?
The rat was massive. There were holes everywhere. The roof in the back had half the roof was off. So it was just been raining inside. The place was molded. It was like, this place was a wreck. The areas downstairs, the rats couldn't come through there. They started coming through the drains. So we had sealed up this area in the toilet, and I remember it being it was the day of the launch, and the day before we had painted the floor, and it chewed through the wall, and we saw the rat prints on the floor because it was wet paint. And that was the day of launching the shop, and I remember being in the morning being like, oh my goodness. I was thinking to the builders where are they coming from? I thought we got rid of them. I thought we dealt with everything. And they're like, oh, then we found out they're coming through the drain, so then I have to pay extra £1,000 or whatever it was to go into the drain things, and then they had to put some valves things on it, and then it's just kind of like, it cost a lot of money to open up this shop, right? And so finding money was hard because it's like I had no money to do it, and things just kept on coming up that I had to keep adding to it. It's just kind of like finding money. So I said I went to payday loans. I went to people who I know. I offered people high interest. So I'd be like to friends, I'd be like, if you can borrow me money, like whatever you give me, I'll get it back to you like in a month, 2 months, you know, I'll give you 10%, you know, back. So I remember borrowing like £10,000 of a friend, like 4 or 5 weeks, paid him back £11,000. Loads of people offered me money to invest, like loads. Everybody wanted to invest because I was in a place at the time where the brand of SliderCuts was quite a big name in barbering, even though I was working in a barber shop. And everyone saw the vision, the same way I saw the vision. Yeah. So everybody wanted to invest. So everyone's kind of like, we'll give you money. We'll give you £50,000. We'll give you £100,000. We'll give you, like, they all wanted to invest. Tempting. It was very tempting. There was a stage when I felt like taking it, but my issue was that I knew that the only thing you were bringing to this business was money. And once I got this business open, the value of the business went up. Right. So I knew as soon as I opened up these doors, the shares that you want to buy for the price you want to buy them at go up a lot higher. So I was like, I can't take money from people to invest, and they're not even adding anything to the growth of the business. So I would rather take high interest loans. Just in interest alone, I think I paid back about £70,000 to £100,000. But the way I saw that was, I am paying to have full ownership of my business.
Let's take a break. And while the ads are on, why not give How to Be a CEO a follow, rate and review? Bet you can do it faster than it takes to listen to the commercials. So you ready? Go. What would be the proudest thing for you?
My proudest thing from the business I set up is the employees. And the reason why it's my proudest thing is because I've been put in a position, fortunately, you know, that I've been able to give other people a job that pays them well. And not only just a job, because, you know, giving a job, first of all, is a big thing, especially when, you know, there's job cuts and stuff like that. To be able to give someone a job just by itself, I think is a massive thing. And I don't think people understand how big of a thing that actually is. There's loads of people who want jobs, who cannot get jobs, you know, so you change someone's life when you give someone a job. Full stop. But then give someone a job that also pays well, and then I've seen people talking about they're getting married. That's from the job. And then also it's people from all the surrounding communities as well, because often well-paying jobs go to a sector of people, and I'm not talking even about demographic. I'm just talking about sector of people. You know, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to come from this background, all these kind of different things, right? I love the fact that we could be able to hire people from this area, and people who may have thought they might never be able to earn that type of money, and I put them in that position.
So who are you taking inspiration from? Because I'm thinking, you know, SliderCuts, like way back at the beginning of this, you were talking about the SliderCuts brand, and clearly you, from a very young age, you were seeing this as a brand. Yeah. You've got a big social media presence. I mean, were you taking ideas from people, or were you just going, I think this will work, and I'm just going to come to it, let's see what happens?
I think it's a bit of both. You know, I think with everyone, you know, sometimes just luck and chance, fortune, but there's also just being proactive. So I took inspiration from different people, in a sense of like, there wasn't like a particular person that inspired me for everything, but there's different people that inspired me for different elements of business. So I might be speaking to like a client I have, and he runs a record company, and he's just talking to me, and he might not even realize that I'm taking inspiration from what he's done. He's just talking, but I'm listening thinking, wow, that makes so much sense. But what else can you get while you get haircuts? What else are they doing when they go else places? That's why I'm making my own products right now. You know, this year they'll be coming out because I'm making them from scratch. I'm not white labeling them or nothing like that. I got my brushes, I've got the combs, I've got different products, I've got shampoos, I've got pomades, you know. But the whole thing is kind of like, you come here to get a haircut and then go to another shop to buy a comb. But why don't you buy that comb from here?
Why don't you buy a SliderCuts comb?
Yeah.
That's the power of the brand though as well, isn't it? Because, you know, you could get any old comb, but, you know, I've got the comb used by SliderCuts. Yeah, that I can see that. Yeah.
And we sell sponges, like we got these sponges, you know, on Afro hair, it twists your hair, you know. They're the biggest selling thing in here. Because everyone comes in here, we twist your hair for you, but they want to twist their hair themselves when they're at home.
I wonder, does it go the other way around? Because if you think about your traditional barber shop, I mean, like, those guys were the first counselors. People would come and sit down in the I mean, do you get that experience as well? Are you helping to inspire people too?
Definitely, you know, every barber is a counselor. Every barber is a counselor. What I will say though is not every barber is a good one. But nevertheless, you are a counselor once you are cutting hair and they're in the chair. Because for some reason, customers, once they jump into that chair, they just start opening up to you. I've spoken to different customers. I've studied it to try and figure out what it is as to why. And I think it's something to do with the chair being comfortable. It's the vibrations of the trimmers maybe making them feel relaxed. And I think you standing over a customer as well, it almost feels like it's just you and them. So I think what you realize in this position is, especially when you've been doing it for a long time, you've seen some of these people grow up where you've given them their first haircut. And also, here's the other thing as well, what people don't realize, a barber is at every big moment in someone's life. When you graduate, your birthday, your wedding, starting college, starting university. And I feel like that makes customers feel this thing of this connection, which is another business thing which a lot of people don't realize, that one of the biggest things in retaining clients is the connection you have with that client.
Yeah.
That connection you have with a client is what forces it, almost feels like it forces the client to come back to you.
That was Mark Maciver. For more news, interviews and analysis, you can't do better than going to standard.co.uk/business or pick up the newspaper. How to Be a CEO is released first thing every Monday morning. Let's meet again now.